Members of the committee and council, there is a handout that is being delivered by Ms. Waller to you all. Judge Crawford, welcome. Would you introduce those with you, please?
Yes, certainly. Thank you, Chair. I have Wendy Buchanan to my right, who is the Chief Probation Officer, and I have Jim Swack to my left, who is a Court Administrator. Court Administrator Tim Agent's currently in the hospital. He's going to be fine after some surgery, but that's the reason he's absent today.
Well, please give him our best. He has obviously worked a long time with this council, and we appreciate him and all he does, so please tell him we are thinking about him.
I would also like to introduce and recognize the new Juvenile Court Judge, Sheila Calloway, who's here and present.
Welcome, Judge-elect Calloway, excuse me. Welcome. Judge Crawford, the threshold question is, can you operate within the mayor's proposed budget?
And the answer would be yes, we can.
And with that, would you elaborate on all the good work your court's doing and any suggestions or improvements you would like to recommend?
Yes, thank you. First, I'd like to start by thanking you, Chair, and all the members of the Finance Committee that are here. Alicia Veravuth, I always mispronounce. She was here. I'm not sure where she is now. Talia Lomax, and all of those that are here with the Metro Council and the Mayor's Office. I am having passed out to you, I think, 2 documents. The first document, or one of the documents, is basically the contacts that our new probation officers that you all approved last year have made, and I'll go into more detail about that in a moment. And I've also passed out to you one of the things that I am the proudest of, and that is the guidelines for pro se litigants, which, as you all are probably aware, the Administrative Office of the Court, with their Access to Justice program, that was something that came to my mind that juvenile court desperately needed, so I took it upon myself to prepare and make available for all pro se litigants those guidelines, so I just wanted you all to have a copy of those. The mayor's recommended budget calls for a reduction of approximately $219,700, and we identified that proposed reduction by a reduction in our upcoming contract that's going to be up for renewal by the end of November of this year by reducing the number of detention beds. Our current contract has 48 beds, and we are proposing to reduce that to 32. You may say, how did you come up with 32 beds? We did a study to look at the highs and lows over the course of the last 3 or 4 years to make a determination as to what would be a safe figure for us so that we don't have too much overage, too much underage, and we came up with the number of 32. And that will yield approximately $240,000 savings in our budget, so that's where our proposed 3% cut would come from. We are requesting one item, and that's $41,000 in additional grant match money. As you all recall, we have we hired 3 new probation officers as a part of a new problem-solving court that we have started down in juvenile court. And upon hiring them, there were some things that were not anticipated when we hired them, such as the increment for not only those folks, but the other folks within the whole parentage division that was approved for fiscal year 15. So as a part of the $41,000 grant match money that we're asking for, that would cover cost of mileage, training, computer equipment for the new personnel, as well as interpreter services, because these new personnel are basically in the field and they're meeting with folks and trying to hook folks up with resources, and a lot of translation needs are there. One of the lists that I've passed to you are the organizations that these 3 probation officers in our problem-solving court have reached out to and established a relationship with. Even though those positions were approved by you all last year after going through the hiring freeze exception request and the interviewing and so forth, we were just able to get them on board in February. I am happy to report, however, that within a 6-week period, we were able to find jobs for 7 of the folks coming through the problem-solving court, 4 of which were felons. And we were able to collect $800 and something worth of child support that would not have otherwise been collected, and that was just within a brief 6-week period. So we are real encouraged about the problem-solving court and the future success of it. In February of this year, the 3 probation staff and judicial staff took a trip to Newman, Georgia, because they have a similar program there, and they were able to replicate factors of that program in order to be successful. So we are requesting that in terms of additional grant funds.
Excuse me, Judge, and that's matched, right?
That's
by
matched.
Almost $80,000 to make the
Absolutely.
program, and $120,000 program for the 41 we would put in.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
So with that, I will defer to you all for any questions.
Councilwoman Berry.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Judge, for being here. Thank you very much for talking about the $41,000. I think anytime we can add money back in and get a match, that the return on that is 2 for 1, I think, and so that's great. And I would like to request, Chair, that we add that to our wish list, the $41,000, please.
Thank you. It is so noted.
Great. And then my next question has to do with the current contract for the detention center. Who do we currently contract with for the detention center contract?
G4S.
G4S. And is that, are they also currently in the mix for this next
Yes,
contracting
from my
cycle? Because through the competitive bid? Okay, thanks.
Councilwoman Weiner.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Judge, for being here. I want to just clarify what you said about the beds. When you did your study to identify the number of beds that you're actually using in your contract, can you identify the high number and what the low number was?
Certainly, yes. The most in detention since 2010 has been 42, and that was in December 2011. The least number was 9, and that was actually in November of 2013. So we have seen a steady decrease in those numbers, but when we did an average, because of the penalty if you go over, the best number we came up with was 32.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Claiborne.
Thank you, Judge Crawford, for being here. You said the 3 people that you currently have, that there was a delay in getting them into service. Okay, so they're being paid for by the grant, right?
They're being paid under a grant.
Under
but
a
it's
grant, right.
With match money.
Okay, so the grant was given when?
We've been under a Title 40 grant with child support for years and years and years. It was just a supplement for match money that we requested last year in order to hire those 3.
Okay, so this is the same. This is the same grant then that you're trying to get the match for now.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so since there was a delay in getting the people that were funded for under this particular grant on board, at the end point of that grant, do the excess funds go away that weren't expended for their salary benefits or whatever?
Yes.
So that
It does not carry
it
over.
doesn't roll over.
Right.
Okay. So tell us what happens. I know the council lady has requested that the funds be added onto the wish list, but assuming they didn't, tell us what happens. What's the impact of not getting that 41,000?
Basically, the impact would be that the funding for the increment, see, that program, that grant program is made up of a lot more than just those 3. That grant program includes a number of employees other than those 3. Well, one of those employees was a vacant we had a vacancy in a warrant officer position. So when increments for those grant-funded, the whole grant-funded program in parentage last year were awarded, we didn't have the foresight to know those increments were going to be reinstituted. So there was not contemplation in last year's budget for that increment for the entire 4D grant program. So in essence, what we did was we had funding for the 4D warrant officer that was a vacant position, and from what I understand, we had to use some of that in order to fund the increments that were approved after we had proposed our budget last year. So basically, to answer your question, Councilman, we would not be able to fill that vacant 4D warrant officer position, nor would we be able to do training or get equipment for these and pay mileage and interpreter services for these 3 new employees.
Okay, so the 3 employees would still be on your staff?
They would. They would. They would be limited in the services they could provide for the problem-solving court piece of our 4D grant. Does that make sense?
Right, minus the 1 officer you're talking about.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
I hope that answers your question.
Judge Crawford, I think I speak for us all in thanking you for your good service and your commitment to young people. We are all sure we are going to see you again working with young people and serving our community in a variety of ways, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you, and I can't go without saying today that I would also like to sincerely thank the employees of Metro Davidson County Juvenile Court, because they do more with less, and they are not employees of the Davidson County Juvenile Court for the money. They are there for the passion and love of the job. So I just, on the record, would like to thank them for all of their service, and I want to thank all of you for your incredible support.
Thank you very much.